Shalom and good evening, my brothers and sisters. I'm coming back up here to share with y'all some more proof and evidence that the Father has given unto me that will lock everything in. For what the Father has revealed to me, my brothers and sisters, that the answers to the biblical events that took place in the New Testament, known as the renewed marriage, okay, that the Messiah established for us. The answers can be found in Torah and in the prophets, as well as the book of Songs. But what the Father was revealing unto me, that the answer to the biblical events that took place in the gospel can be revealed in Torah and in the prophets, as well as the book of Songs. And I'll explain more as we go through this video. But what you see before you is a picture of Eastern versus Western thinking in biblical interpretation. Eastern versus Western thinking in biblical interpretations. So this picture right here is saying a lot unto us. When we go and study the word of the Most High, who is our Father in heaven, we have to come in the mindset of the East and not in the West. And you'll see more as I share with y'all the proof. This is like facts, evidence. This is something that cannot be debated, okay? Because of the witnesses that the Father has established before us, okay? Just like, have you ever wondered why in the West we use different units versus what the East use? For example, I'm trying to think, dealing with the metric system. Um, I know, yeah, for example, they may use kilograms, and over here we use pounds. Have you asked yourself why is the West is so different from the East? So this is what the Father is saying to us. When we come to look at the Bible, when we study the history of the Bible, we know it was written by Israelites who was under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. Okay. And we know that the Old Testament was in Hebrew and the New Testament was translated from the Chron Greek language. But we are aware there's other translation of the New Testament in the Aramaic language, in the Hebrew language, and I'm trying to think what a language is too. But those are the first two that comes in my mind. Okay. The reason why we have to study these history, because when we go and read the scriptures, we cannot come in a mindset of a Western mindset. And you'll see why based on the evidence I have. We have to come in a mindset of a Messianic Hebrew. That's one of the mindsets we got to have. A Messianic Hebrew is a Israelite who believe in the teachings of the Messiah. In other words, they follow the teaching of the Messiah, but they come in the whole volume of the book. Just as I shared with you before, it is so important to have an understanding of our Father's calendar and of his biblical holy days, because it's going to unlock a lot of mysteries and it's going to unlock a lot of answers that people have to certain events of when they took place. Okay. Because, like I said, he is showing me, he said, if you want to know the answer, my daughter, you got to go back to Torah and you got to go back to the prophets. And I'm seeing what he's saying now, because not only is that a witness, we have other witnesses. Which bring me to this. Um, there is another character involved of that mindset, but that will be revealed in another part. Okay? So let's first go to the title of this word for the day. Just to let you know, we will be still continuing studying the letter or the epistle that Paul wrote to the Romans, for you're going to see how all this is connected together, y'all. Okay. So for those who are following along with us, we will be going into chapter 9 now. Chapter 9. But what I'm sharing with you now, because there's many things I have to share with you, but I have to do it in increments, small increments, that would tie into the book of Romans or to the letter that he wrote to the Romans. Okay. But this is one of the things, and you're going to see why. So the title of this word for today that I'm sharing with you, East versus West, 3 days and 3 nights, Messiah in hell, which we know is Sheol in the Hebraic language, and resurrection. 3 days and 3 nights, Messiah in hell, and his resurrection, okay, slash the proof, okay. Again, the channel has tons of proof, but the Father is having me to bring out more proof unto you to lock everything in. And you'll see why is this so important. And speaking of mindset, those who have been educated in the Western ways, I'm going to be honest with you, you're going to have to put that aside. Again, you cannot come to the Bible with that Western mindset to understand what the Hebrews wrote unto us, okay? As well as those who converted to their way of life and their way of faith. You're not going to understand it if you come in a Western mindset, okay? And the reason I say east, because we know, according to the scriptures, it tells us to look to the east, and look towards the east is Jerusalem, which is the mother of us all. So this is why I had said east versus west. Okay. So we got to come in a more of an eastern mindset and not a western mindset. Okay. And this is where we allow the spirit of Yah. Who was that spirit, y'all, that we learned from reading Romans? We learned that that spirit is the Messiah spirit, and he shall teach us. So you have to submit yourself to that spirit to get the understanding of what the Bible is telling us. And the Father is to remind you of this. He had the 22 Hebrew letters listed in Psalms 119 for a reason. And he needs for you to go study the meaning or the definitions of those Hebrew letters, because you're going to see how all this relates to the book of Romans. Okay. So the first thing I want to go to, I want to go to Matthew chapter 12. And I jumped ahead. So here are the proofs that I'm going to give to you that you can review in your spare time. For those who have a copy of the 1611, you will see in the side notes, it does recommend for you to read certain books. Okay. Um, for the first proof that we have here is the King James 1611. I highly recommend that everyone can get a copy of that Bible if you can. For those who could not afford a copy of it, there is a website you can go to where it's free until you to access it until you can get your copy. So that is our first witness. Okay. Now the second witness is the work of Josephus, and that Bible do represent or do refer to the work of Josephus. And I see why, because y'all, there's so many hidden gems in the work of Josephus that will eliminate a lot of debating and going back and forth about certain issues and topics. The Father also want me to mention this unto you. He is aware of the translations. There might be some translation errors. However, if we go line upon line and precept upon precept, his truth can still be revealed despite of those translation errors. Okay? So that is the second witness we have on board. The third witness is the book of Jubilees, which was written by Moshe, who'll give you the more inner details of what was happening in the beginning and in Torah, like Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. So it gives a little bit more inner details, okay? And that's another great witness as well. So the witness that I'm bringing out to you today is dealing with the strong concordance. The strong concordance is going to align to what I've been teaching unto y'all about the calendar, about biblical events, etc. Okay. And how can I say this about the strong concordance? I was so amazed and impressed in what the Father shared with me with the strong concordance that I want to share with you so you can have in your resource, so you can have in your notes and do your own research as well. Okay. So we're going to Matthew chapter 12, verse 40. We are going into the strong concordance of this verse, looking at the Greek translation. Okay. For Matthew 12, chapter 12, verse 40 say, For as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Adam be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. So when you do your precept or line upon line, you will learn that the heart of the earth is the center of the earth, which is where you have Sheol, known as hell, or in the Greek tongue, Hades. Okay. Even the Messiah talks about this in the gospel. Um, you can see throughout the Bible too, as the word hell is used, and also in the work of also in the work of Josephus too. He talks about Sheol that would align to what the Messiah revealed in the gospel. Now, when we go in the strong concordance and looking at the Greek word we're going to look at is dealing with the word even, not even. Let me make sure word day. Dealing with the word day. I'm sorry, y'all. Dealing with the word day. Okay. And that Greek word is this. It is G2250. And it's pronounced as Hedimera. Hedimera. Okay. And we're going to go to first. We'll go to the King James translation count, and you can see what that word is used for when we translate it to English, such as it's used for the word day, daily, time. Okay. And when we look at the outline of biblical usage um, under section 2, that is the key there. Section 2. Okay, let me start from the top. Okay, let me start from the top. Under the outline of biblical usage, it says in the Roman numeral 1 that the word day, use of the natural day or the interval between sunrise and sunset, as distinguished from and contrast with the night. So, depending on how the text is used, y'all, throughout the Bible, whether it's Hebrew or Greek, the word day sometimes can represent a whole day, which consists of evening and light, which is day. Go back to Genesis. Or it can be used for daylight, as we see in when Moshe was on the mountain for 40 daylights and 40 nights. Okay. So, depending on the context of the verse, you will have to know the difference of what that word is saying, whether it's in Hebrew or Greek. So remember, the word day can represent a whole day, which is consists of what? Evening and day, or evening and light, okay? Or it can be dealing with daylight, okay? Now we're going to look at section 2, which is right here. It says, of the silver day, or the space of 24 hours, thus including the night. Okay? Go back to Genesis chapter 1 and see why they would say, thus including the night. And this is a part we want to look at. It's under A, section 2, letter A. For it says this, Eastern use of this term differs from our Western usage. Do y'all hear that? The Eastern usage of this word or this term differs from our Western usage. So this is why I say your mindset has to be changed. You got to be retaught by the Spirit when it comes to reading that Bible. Okay? Any part of a day is counted as a whole day. Do y'all hear that? Any part of a day is counted as a whole day, hence the expression 3 days and 3 nights does not mean literally 3 whole days, but at least 1 whole day plus part of 2 other days. So it's dealing with part of the days, and proof and evidence of that. Go back to the book of Exodus, and you will see before Moses spent 40 daylights and 40 nights on Mount Sinai with the Father, he had to do some morning activities. And as he completed those morning activities, that's when he began the 40 daylights and the 40 nights. So that is proof and evidence of what the strong concordance is revealing unto us, that according to the Father definition, a whole day don't have to be 24 hours. He could be talking about part of a day. This is why we got to walk in the whole volume of that King James 1611, which consists of the Old Testament, the Apocrypha, and the New Testament. So I want to read this again so y'all can really see what this is saying, because I have a prophet that's going to back this up. It said the Eastern and usage of this term differs differs from our Western usage. Any part of a day is counted as a whole day. Hence the expression, quote and unquote, 3 days and 3 nights. Okay? Does not mean literally 3 whole days, but at least 1 whole calendar day plus part of 2 other days. So when you go back and you look at what took place on the Passover day, known as the V14, which is the crucifixion day, you can begin to understand how the Messiah fulfilled that and why he resurrected on the V16, which is the day of the manna ceasing and the day of the sheaf weight offering. Even what Josephus wrote unto us will confirm that. Okay? So the way we've been thinking now, brothers and sisters, for those who have been westernized, we got to come out of that and allow the Spirit of Yah to teach us his ways and his thoughts. Okay? The next proof that we're going to go to is Mark chapter 15 of the Strong Concordance, and we're going to read verse 42. Mark chapter 15, verse 42. And now when the even was come, because it was the preparation, that is the day before the Sabbath. So when we look at the word even, and the reason why we're going to look at this word in the Greek text, because it confirms it confirmed what the Father had me to teach unto you, brothers and sisters, dealing with why the lamb was sacrificed between the 2 evenings. Okay, remember that playlist that we did, dealing with studying the mysteries of Yah's calendar, and also looking at the playlist of understanding our Father's calendar, that is in Genesis chapter 1 verse 14, that is made up of 3 lights, and those 3 lights come together to make one calendar, and that is the sun, the moon, and Mazzaroth. Now Mazzaroth is a Hebraic word that means the 12 signs that the Gentiles today call the zodiac, the 12-star constellations. Okay, so when we go to the Strong Concordance to get further understanding of what this word mean, even according to the Greek text, which is let me make sure I'm looking at the right thing, y'all. 3798 and it's pronounced as opsias. Okay, and we're going to start at the King James translation count. Okay, so you see that this Greek word does represent the English words such as even, evening, or in the evening, eventide, at even. Okay, when we look at the outline of biblical uses of how the Bible uses this word, it can be used to represent what? Late. But here is the key factor right here. Here's what's going to lock it in. When we look at section 2 of the outline of the biblical usage, when we see evening, it can be either from 3 to 6 p.m. Now, I know that's catching a lot of people off because most will say it's saying, isn't it at daylight time? Well, if you read Jubilees and you read the work of Josephus and you start reading the side notes and scriptures of the King James, it will reveal unto you that the Father gave the portion of daylight, gave a certain portion of daylight over to evening. Go back and look at those playlist videos that the Father had me to share with you to get the proof and evidence of that. So evening can start from 3 to 6 o'clock p.m. And you're going to see why when we go back and look at Torah that goes in hand with the Messiah crucifixion and resurrection. Because these events is going to line up. Okay. And you're going to see why is that so important to know when you read the book of Romans. Because it's a lot of things that Paul is saying unto us, and he's going deep. And as you're seeing that Paul is working in the whole volume of the book. The next letter we're going to look at under section 2 for evening, that it can be from 6 o'clock p.m. to the beginning of night. Okay? From 6 o'clock p.m. to the beginning of night. All right? We're going to scroll on down. When we look at the strong definition, it can mean late, feminine, as noun, afternoon, or early evening, or nightfall, or late even. And the words that it can stand for even, or evening, or eventide. Okay? Again, when you take time to study these books and their writings and write it out. I tell my brothers and sisters, you got to write it out to see it. Then you begin to understand why this is so. So don't be surprised if someone tells you in the 3 o'clock hour and after and say good evening, because it is done so in the countries that's towards the east. I had even seen it in the movies myself. I'm a witness of it. You know, I've been learning so much from my people that are towards the east. Okay. So the next thing we want to go to is the Thayer's Greek lexicon. The Thayer Greek's lexicon. And we want to look at number 2. Number 2. Okay. Number 2 says, contrary to the usage of secular authors as a substantive, okay, I cannot pronounce that Greek word parentheses, but evening either from hour 3 to 6 p.m. And they list all the scriptures, which is Matthew 18:6, 14:15, 27:57, and Mark chapter 4, verse 35. Or evening or evening is from hour 6 p.m. to the beginning of night, and they list those scriptures such as Matthew 14:23 and 16:2. And then it also lists other scriptures such as Matthew chapter 20:8, chapter 26:20, Mark 1:32, Mark 6:47, 14 and 17, 15 and 42, John 6 and 16, and John 20 and 19. Okay. It also goes on to say that evening is between the two evenings. That's that side note that we talked about in the past. That can be, and this is found in the King James 6 and 11, which is found in Exodus chapter 12, verse 6, chapter 16, verse 12, and chapter 29, verse 39. And then they also list, besides only in Judith, chapter 13, verse 1. And I believe that's dealing with the Apocrypha. Yes, the Strong Concordance or the Blue Letter Bible Strong Concordance do make references to the Apocrypha too. That's why I like to go through and read everything because you're getting some hidden gems. But what this is confirming to us, many of us don't have the understanding. What does it mean that the Passover lamb had to be offered between the two evenings? And most of us knows it as the going down of the sun. When the sun is starting to go down, it's going down between the 2 days. Okay, we're two whole calendar days. So therefore, the Passover lamb was offered during that time. Okay. So these are the things that's very important for us to know or to understand when we're beginning to study the biblical events that took place on Passover Day that's leading up to the Messiah resurrection. So now you have those things to add to your notes and to your collections, and I will attach the videos. It's 3 parts between the two evenings so you can get a greater understanding. But now you are seeing why we cannot come in a mindset of the Western. We have to come in a mindset of the East, meaning that we have to come in a mindset of a Hebrew who is Messianic, who believe in the Messiah. Now there is another group or another set we have to look at when we're dealing with the scriptures that the Messiah touched on, as well as Josephus, to understanding what the scriptures are saying to us. And we'll talk about that in the next part to come, because what I'm giving y'all is beginning what's to come, because the Father has given me sound evidence to lock certain things in so we can understand what the prophets that has written to us from the beginning, even from Genesis, that pertains to the Messiah, that and also that pertains to us. For those who are in these following groups, whether you're in the bride of the Messiah, and we know that's made up of Israelites, Gentiles, circumcised, uncircumcised, male, female, male, female, etc. All who receive the Messiah is in that group. The next group is the 144,000 that is only Israelites. Okay. The only tribe that was excluded from the 144 is the tribe of Dan. And you have to read the prophets' writings and other sacred writings to understand why they are not part of that group. But as a tribe, as a whole tribe, an individual Danite can come or be a part of the bride of the Messiah. But there's another event that has to take place with them that is to come. And then the third group is dealing with the nation of Israel. And this is what Paul writing is going to give us understanding dealing with the nation of Israel and why and why our Father in heaven would have to deal with them differently. Yes, my brothers and sisters, just as he had mercy and compassion upon the Gentiles, he too will have mercy and compassion upon Israel. There are still more prophecies to come in their fullness that only pertain to the nation of Israel, just like we have prophecies that only pertain to the bride of the Messiah and prophecies that only pertain to the 144,000 who are Israelites. Hope y'all enjoyed this word, and I hope that you will begin to understand the mindset of our Father, because as you see, his ways is not what the world been teaching us. Again, we've been westernized, we've been Babylonianized, and Babylon means confusion, or basically they're backwards. They do things backwards. They do things opposite of what the Father does and what he teaches us in regarding to his calendar and to his heavens and his earth. Okay. And also regarding to his three lights that he made, which is the sun, the moon, and Mazzaroth. Oh, and we see, and some of us been modernized. We really didn't truly uh, grasp or understand what took place in those ancient times. We are trying to put what we have learned, whether it's from your tribe or nation or from your family or whether from schools, what we are learning now is not ancient knowledge. So this is where the Spirit of Yah will come in. He will reteach you and show you and give you the sound proof that you need to begin to understand our Father ways and his mindsets and his thoughts. All right. My brothers and sisters, continue to preach that the kingdom of heaven is at hand, for it's truly at hand, and make sure the people receive salvation as written in Romans chapter 10. For the Lamb set the example of the water baptism and the Holy Spirit baptism. And if you don't have no one to baptize you or to give you the Holy Spirit baptism, the Father has a way for you, and it's easy. With the water baptism, you can baptize yourself. This is a way of you exercising your faith with works. For the water, the heavens, and the earth are a witness unto him, and they can report back unto him of those who are entering into the new covenant or the renewed marriage. And the Holy Spirit baptism is easy too. All you have to do is ask in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, who's the Messiah, the second Adam, the Son of God. Ask in his name, and the Father will give it unto you according to your heart, your faith, and your works. So remember, my brothers and sisters, stay tuned because we have another set. We have to come in that kind of mindset to understand what the Messiah was saying and what the whole Bible was showing unto us. So I'm just giving y'all a sliver of the pie. More is to come. Love you all, and shalom.